There are some people who can hear things the rest of us never will. Not voices, not ghosts, something older, something colder, something that was here long before we began calling this place a town. Dick Hallorann was one of those people. He never asked for it. He never wanted it. But when you're born with the shine, the darkness notices you, and it watches. Because the shine isn't just a gift, it's a beacon, a light in an ocean made of teeth. And something in Derry has been hungry for a very, very long time. Decades before the Losers Club, before the sewers, before the red balloons, before the tragedy that every adult worked so hard to forget, Dick had already met it. Not in a story, not in a dream, face to face, and he survived. But survival has a cost for the rest of his life. Every time the lights flickered, every time someone laughed a little too loudly, every time a child went missing and no one questioned it, he remembered. Because he knew the truth everyone else pretended not to see. Derry is not cursed. Curses end. This town is something worse. It's a feeding ground, a place shaped and groomed for one purpose, to raise fear like cattle. And Dick Hallorann was the first one to hear the screams no one else could hear. Not with his ears, but with his mind, with his shine. The same power that helped him save a boy in the Overlook Hotel is the same power that almost killed him here. He tried to run. He tried to forget. He tried to bury it. But some things don't stay buried, especially when they're still hungry. And Pennywise never forgets the ones who get away. But here's the part nobody talks about. Dick didn't just feel something in Derry. He heard it. A voice, deep, wet, smiling. It didn't speak in words. It spoke in memories. The memory of a child crying into a pillow. The memory of a mother searching the woods alone. The memory of footsteps behind you when you know you're the only one on the road. Fear, layered, collected, stored like meat in a freezer. And Dick could hear all of it, because in Derry, fear doesn't fade. It clings, like mold, like rot. And the first time Dick stepped off that bus, he knew something was wrong. Not from what he saw, but from what he didn't. The streets were almost too quiet, too clean, too normal. A town with a smile painted on its face, but the eyes are screaming. That's when he realized the people here weren't blind. They were pretending not to see the missing posters, pretending not to hear the stories, pretending not to remember the screams, because remembering means the thing remembers you, so they forget. On purpose. Dick's shine buzzed, like a fire alarm inside his skull. Like something behind the walls was crawling toward him. He told himself it was just nerves, just imagination, just being far from home. Until he saw her, a small girl, standing alone near a storm drain, hair shaking in the wind, eyes wide and hollow. Dick called out to her. She didn't move, didn't blink. She just raised her hand, slowly, and pointed down. Into the dark, into the wet, into the place where something was waiting. And then, she smiled. Not like a child, not like anything human. A smile that said, I know you can see me. I know you hear me. And I have been waiting for you. The shine pulsed. The ground seemed to breathe. And from that drain, he heard a laugh. Soft, sweet, like a joke whispered in a coffin. Pennywise, the eater of worlds, the thing that watches from the cracks, the shadow behind childhood. This wasn't the first time Dick Hallorann crossed paths with evil, but this time, the evil knew his name. If you're ready, we move into the rising tension phase. Still hook territory, still suspense, still no plot reveal. We make it heavier now. Most people, when they feel fear, they run. Dick didn't. He stayed. Not because he was brave, not because he wanted to be a hero, but because the shine doesn't let you look away. It forces you to see. And what he saw in Derry wasn't just one monster. It was a cycle, a pattern, a rhythm. Every 27 years, the air in this town thickens. The lights dim a little earlier. Children cry a little softer. The ground itself turns hungry. And Dick could feel it happening again. But the real horror? It wasn't Pennywise. It was the people. The quiet sheriff whose eyes flicked too fast when a child went missing. The parents who locked their doors at night and called it being cautious. The neighbors who whispered, don't ask questions. Not here, a whole town built on denial. A community that learned to coexist with evil. As long as their own children weren't taken, they didn't dare speak the clown's name. Dick realized something terrifying. Pennywise doesn't hide in the dark. Pennywise hides in silence. Every unanswered question, every missing report shelved, every tear wiped quietly at the dinner table. That's where it lives. Feeds. Waits. And the military? They didn't want to stop it. They wanted to use it. Because fear isn't just an emotion. Fear is a weapon. And Dick, with his ability to see, feel, and hear the things others bury, was the perfect key. But the shine cuts both ways. The deeper you look, the deeper it looks back. Dick was already beginning to slip. Sleep wasn't rest anymore. It was witnessing. Dreams weren't dreams. They were memories that weren't his. Half of them belonged to children who no longer existed, and the other half belonged to it, the clown, the thing, the ancient hunger, watching him, studying him, smiling. Because for the first time, Pennywise had found someone who could see every layer of the fear web, someone who might understand where it came from, someone who might learn what it really is. And that made Dick interesting. No scream is as loud as the one you swallow. Dick tried to ignore it. He tried to act normal. Eat breakfast, walk the streets, breathe. But the shine wouldn't let him. Every sound felt too sharp. Every shadow carried a memory. Every whisper carried a name. Children's names. Names Derry had already forgotten. One night, while he slept, he felt a presence sitting at the edge of his bed. Not touching, just waiting. He didn't want to open his eyes. But the shine opened them for him. There was no child, no shadow, no figure, just a balloon, floating, slow, weightless, red, not bright red, not playful red, red like something freshly opened. The air in the room tightened. The temperature dropped, not cold, but empty, like the room had stopped being a room, like the world had narrowed into one single moment, him and it. And then he heard it again, that laugh. But this time, it wasn't distant, it wasn't echoing, it wasn't hiding. It was beside him, close enough to feel the breath, close enough to know this wasn't a dream. Hello, Richard. It said his name perfectly, not in voice, not in sound, inside his head, inside the shine, like Pennywise was using his own gift against him. Dick didn't move, couldn't, because in that moment he understood something terrifying. Pennywise didn't find him. Pennywise had always been waiting for him. The shine wasn't a gift, it was a signal, a beacon, a spotlight that said, this one sees, this one feels, this one understands fear the way I do, was do. And Pennywise doesn't just feed on fear, it feeds on the ones who try to stop it. So Dick realized the truth. He wasn't there to uncover the mystery of Derry. He was being invited into it, not chosen, claimed, and the worst part? He hadn't even seen its true face yet. This was only the introduction. After that night, Dick stopped pretending. He didn't talk about it, didn't write it down, didn't tell the men he worked beside every day. Because how do you explain a nightmare that happens while you're awake? But inside, something had shifted. He started noticing the patterns. The missing posters weren't random. The disappearances followed a shape, a spiral. The town was built around it. Like Derry didn't just have the monster. Derry was the monster's home, and everyone living there was just renting space inside its hunger. But Dick wasn't just seeing the present. The shine was showing him the past. Flashes, images, memories that didn't belong to him. A meteor streaking across a black sky. A shape falling from the void. A creature that was not born, but arrived. A town forming around the wound it left in the earth. Pennywise didn't just come to Derry. Derry formed around Pennywise, like a pearl forming around a parasite, like a body forming around an infection. And the people? They adapted. Fear wasn't the exception here. Fear was the default. Dick saw mothers teaching their children not to scream, because screaming meant it hurt you. He saw kids walking in pairs, not for safety, but because no one dies if you're not alone.